Welcome to Business Problem Solvers Podcast, where legal insight meets entrepreneurial innovation. Are you a startup founder navigating the complex legal landscape of entrepreneurship? Are you seeking practical advice, actionable strategies, and expert guidance to propel your business forward? Look no further. Eric Alspaugh is a seasoned attorney based in the vibrant startup hub of California, and he's thrilled to be your host on this exciting journey. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the intersection of law and business, bringing you insightful interviews with a diverse range of industry experts, thought leaders, and successful entrepreneurs. From intellectual property and contract law to corporate governance and regulatory compliance, we'll cover the essential legal topics that every startup needs to know. Our guests will share their wisdom, experience, and practical tips to help you navigate legal challenges, seize opportunities, and build a thriving business in today's dynamic marketplace. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a budding startup founder, or simply curious about the intersection of law and business, join Eric on Business Problem Solvers Podcast as we explore the legal insights and entrepreneurial inspiration that will fuel your journey to success.
Hey, Ben, and welcome to the Business Problem Solvers Podcast. It's an honor to have you on our 7th show, and I want to introduce you to our audience. This is Ben Carotta, the owner of the Islands Golf Center in Anaheim, California. And I've had the honor of working with Ben for over 10 years, being a colleague of his, and the pleasure of visiting the golf center several times and just had a blast there. And I'm looking forward to hearing about what you've been up to, Ben, and hopefully you can share some stories with our listeners about some of the anecdotal lessons that you might have learned in this process. So
Sure.
welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Where would you like us to start, Eric?
I want to get an update on the Islands Golf Center. I know that we started working on it about 5 years ago. Can you tell me a little bit about the startup and the condition of it, and then bring us up to speed on what you're doing or what the status is currently?
Sure. So the Islands has been there for probably 30 years.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the last 20 of it was a slow decline down, right? And then I started going there about 9 years ago, volunteering for the kids program that was started there. And it just super rundown. No manager on site. Like the stories of the old range are pretty incredible. Maybe we'll get to that later, but I got my hands on it probably 5 years ago, and I knew it was beat up, but like the layers of repair and just like structural damage to the entire property, I didn't really know that until you start getting into it.
Let me interrupt you and please describe for everybody who hasn't been to the Islands Golf Center, just give a description of the physical layout of the place and how big it is.
Sure. So we have 92 hitting stalls, which like is massive. I think Top Golf now has 3 stories and a little over 100, right? It's a triple decker. Ours is just one level, like this massive bowl with 92 hitting areas, about 1,000 feet long, and then it's a giant water basin in front of that. So the basin itself is like, I want to say 15, somewhere between 13 and 15 acres, and it's about 40 to 80 feet deep, depending on where you are. And then that water level goes up and down seasonally. So right now it's pretty full, and then they'll start dropping the water on us for the next 6 months probably, which causes all kinds of challenges in and of itself. But the idea basically, and then on the lake, we have, I think, 13 or 14 different floating targets for
Okay.
people to hit golf balls at, right? And then we retrieve our golf balls. They float. Most people think that they sink. Most golf balls do. Ours are a little different. So they float to the top. And then we have these custom built boats with cages on them for driver safety, and then nets on the front that basically drive around and skim the balls off the surface.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that, and then we're open like 15 hours a day,
Okay.
7 days a week. So yeah, it's pretty busy. I truly believe it's probably one of the busiest driving ranges in the world. Like I really do
Wow.
think that. Yeah.
Nice. And it's
So
close here in Orange County, and I've had the pleasure of visiting several times, and I enjoy driving a bucket of balls. It is a unique experience from my perspective. And you've done a lot of improvements, and you have to deal with a lot of regulatory issues. Do you want to describe some of the regulatory issues or that are unique to your property?
yeah, so the basin is, the majority of it is the Orange County Water District, and then the important part of it, which is about 70 of our hitting stalls, is actually owned by Caltrans. Um, and then so basically we've had to kind of jockey with both of those government departments to just be there to begin with. And then anytime we want to do any improvement projects, it's got to go off of one or the other or both. Um, and then in addition to that, we don't have any real long term security there. So, um, you know, it's hard to do big permanent improvements that would be like a long term benefit when we don't know if we're going to be there for more than 3 to 4 years. Yeah, and then any other like permanent installations or major changes to the property that we want to make would have to go up multiple government change, which we have and do, but we're a little more selective about that. So a lot of improvements that we've chosen to do have been like temporary, to where if at any point we have to take it down, we can, as opposed to building new structures on the property, stuff like that.
That's a difficult position to be in, having to renew your lease and not have options or guarantees, and trying to
Yeah.
commit large capital outlays for improvements. Now, that
Yeah.
said, you have taken over, and it's been in operations for approximately 30 years, but you did have some vision and you did commit capital,
Yeah.
time, resources, and your life for
Yeah.
years, and you have made huge improvements. And I like not just the fact that the mats and everything are cleaned up, that the parking lot is cleaned up and easy to use, but you have a fantastic kitchen and kitchen staff from my experience. So can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it took us almost 2 years to build the kitchen, which
Wow.
um, part of that is basically because the buildings that are there are like above ground trailers that are built with like residential code, right? And then trying to convert that structure to a commercial kitchen code um, was foolish, to be honest with you. But we didn't figure that out until like 6 to 9 months in, when we started having the inspectors come by and they're like, "Oh, no, you actually have to do all of this, and you have to like redo your bathrooms to get them up to handicap code, and reslope your parking lot to get that up to handicap code." And I mean, that's just two examples, right? So that
Wow.
project was painful, and it took a really long time. But I will say that it has been a worthwhile project. The food has taken us from being a fun driving range to more of a complete entertainment or recreation venue. You know, it's it's a better place to go have a date if you can eat and hit balls. It's a better place to bring your family. You know, you can kind of cross check two boxes with at once. You can hit some balls, have fun, relax. You're outside by the water, and then while you're there, you can grab something to eat, so that you don't have to like worry about that after or before. You know, so we've seen since we opened the food, it was very slow to start, but the food is good, and we put a ton of effort into that food, and it's affordable. You know, that's probably the thing, is it's relatively inexpensive. Um, but since we got that going, that we've noticed that the foot traffic at the facility has continued to grow. Um, yeah, so I think the food itself is not a profitable venture, but
Okay.
it does sell more buckets of golf balls, which we have good margin on. Um, yeah, and I think it just keeps people coming back more often or more frequently.
Awesome. How extensive are your facilities for the golf shop itself in terms of, I know that you provide services of fixing golf clubs, handles, providing some services and some products. Are you a full service golf shop, or what can people expect to find?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of the golf shop. That's kind of my, of all the areas, like that's the one that I have the most passion in, because I, before I owned the range, I was a sublessee there and had the like saddest, tiniest little golf shop in there. It was completely empty, basically. And so we've now built that out to where I feel like it's a very good, proper um, golf shop that is used club heavy, and it's affordable, right? Which I played golf for 25 years and never bought a new club. You know, most golfers can't afford new equipment. So I'm proud that we have a fully stocked shop with hundreds and hundreds of like good quality used equipment that's like 75% cheaper than a new club, you know, and we do still carry brand new equipment. We carry brand new
Okay.
bags, and so it's a nice mixture of like um, good, new, clean, colorful, soft goods, right? With like a lot of like good used equipment. You know, if it was all just used stuff, it would start kind of looking like kind of garage saley. So it's nice that we do have accounts with all the major vendors, and bringing in a lot of the new soft goods, and we do have all the latest and greatest clubs as well. It's just not a real focus for us. Um, the only thing we really don't do is we don't do a ton of custom fitting, um, in the sense of where you get dialed in on like a launch monitor and you have somebody measuring data. And the reason that is because our golf balls are the floating kind, if you recall. So
Yeah.
when we put those on those fancy $1,000 launch monitors, it gives like really weird data.
Okay.
Um, Yes, and it's something I've tried with multiple different launch monitors, and it's just like we it, we're not going to focus on this area for these reasons. And when somebody's trying to make a, if you're going to get custom fit for clubs, like you want to spend 3 to 5 thousand bucks, right? And I
Sure.
want to be able to give you like data that I can depend on, not like weird floating golf ball data, and be like, here,
Sure.
you give
Okay.
me the
So
money, right? Like that's
you're not the
I don't
problem solver for everyone.
not now. Now people can go get fit somewhere else, and then they bring us the specs, and then we'll order it for them. That we do quite a bit, but
Okay.
that's like the one thing we don't do at the shop a ton of. But we do a lot of repairs and like retrofitting. So if you bring me your set of clubs and that you just bought off like offer up or something, and you're like, do these fit me? I can then tweak them and either make them longer or shorter or bend them a little bit so that they better fit you. And we call it
Okay.
like custom fitting. Yeah. Put new grips on it, put new shafts in them. So we do all that stuff. Yep.
Okay. So that, to me, as a not a very good golfer, that sounds very close to full service in a lot of respects. So that's good.
For
Good for
sure.
our
Yeah.
listeners to know
Yep.
and understand. It does touch on the market and the types of clients that you cater to. Being in Anaheim, you have a wide range of clients, I imagine. Can you describe some of those um, clients and maybe some interesting aspects of your clientele, if any?
Are you with the facility in general or within the golf shop?
Well, I really didn't know to distinguish between them. So tell me
Sure.
about the clientele. And I was imagining more of probably the folks that come in to whack a bucket of balls. Do they do it?
Sure.
I've been in with buddies and had lunch there. I imagine are there birthday parties or people aren't having wedding events, or maybe they are. What kind of
Sure.
events and clients are you
I
seeing?
mean, yeah. So our customer base. This is another thing I'm super proud of, to be honest. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to the people that come to the range. Like,
That's
meaning
awesome.
we get people that bring their 2 year olds out and their toddlers that are trying to hit a ball, all the way up to like 85. We got 90-year-old guys coming out there just to get loose for the day in the morning, and everyone in between from all walks of life and like income brackets. That, like I said, there is no rhyme or reason to it. Um,
Okay.
and I think that's awesome because like everyone there puts an incredible amount of work into like not only taking that place from repair to where it's at now, but just the day-to-day maintenance of it. So to be able to see all different kinds of people that feel very comfortable coming by, it's not too expensive for anybody. Like, if you got three friends, you guys can piece together $13 and come hang out for an hour and hit balls and have fun. And like, there's literally
Nice.
nowhere else that you can do that aside from like you go sit at the park or something. Like, that would be it. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Where four people can go hang out for an hour and spend $15. So, being that that's the case, we attract all kinds of people, um, to include people that are plenty well off, and have plenty of money to spend, but they choose to come hit balls here because it's different, and it's a relaxing place. We always have music playing. We always have nice furniture to sit on. We've added a bunch of shade. You're sitting by a lake. Like, I don't know anybody that doesn't enjoy being by water. So
I was gonna
our
mention that I really enjoyed sitting there having lunch with good furniture and yeah, the shade. I mean, it is really nice to just go and hang
yeah,
out for
and
a little bit. So
it did not used to be like that. It used to be there was some diehard customers that were still around, even though the place was in shambles. Um, and that was kind of it. And it was such an eyesore that like you wouldn't take a you wouldn't make that a date night.
okay,
Dude, no, I personally wouldn't. It just you can, I suppose, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't. There were obviously people that were still going there, but yeah, it wasn't nearly as welcoming to everybody as I think that it is now.
sure. Do you do any events, bachelor parties? I'm trying to think of birthday parties. Do people have the ability to reserve 10 lanes or
Yeah,
do anything like that?
yeah. So we eventually started doing that a little bit, just almost as an effort to control it because we didn't what it used to just be first come, first serve, right? And
Okay.
then we start having these parties of like 15, 20 people just showing up on like Friday
Okay.
night. And we're like, we don't have parking for you. We don't have any open spots, you know.
Okay.
So an effort to like organize it a little bit. And also that's not a good customer experience for those 15 or 20 people that have decided to take time out of their Friday night and come here, and then it's a bust because there's nowhere to hit, right? And that's
Right.
we don't want those negative customer experience. So now it's like, okay, it's first come, first serve. If you have a party of 10 or more, you have the option to make a reservation. And we only do one reservation per day, just in an effort to like not overload ourselves or overload the
Okay.
facility. Yeah. So, and then at the same time, if that prevents us from having multiple going at the same time. So, like, if we already have one book for the day and then we have another one that calls, um, we'll tell them, no, we already have it booked that day. And they're like, well, can we just come anyways? Like, technically, you can. However, I cannot guarantee that you guys are going to have parking, or that there's going to be any spots available for you guys to hit. But sure, if you want to invite 20 of your friends to come down here, that's on you,
Okay.
and just set the expectation, because we don't want the place bursting at the seams. That there's nobody wins on that. Um, so setting up some structure with events has not only allowed us to like make sure we have good positive experiences for those parties, but also like push away like some of the overflow, because we only
Okay.
have so many parties. We only have so many places to hit. So,
Sure.
and demand, we have limited supply of our facility,
Okay.
and sometimes demand can get like higher than we can handle, which is a good problem to
Great.
have.
That's good to know. So, listeners,
Weddings
it's
yet.
flexible.
We're yet to have an island's wedding.
That would be
And I
fantastic. That would really
don't think so.
uh, change the photo gallery, I suppose. I don't know if you have one. So, when
Maybe
it
I
comes,
don't know.
well, it was fun talking to you about the unique layout of the facilities. How does that affect your ability to staff different types of roles? How do you hire, maintain, train, and keep morale up and continuously improve the environment? Because I know personally from coming in to the parking lot, it is impeccable. It's perfectly clean. There's nothing out of order. How are you able to do that kind of staffing? And do you use any special systems or software? Turning it over to you.
Sure. Um, Honestly, like, I think that first of all, we've been very lucky with staff for the last 4 years. Um, in the sense that like we've been able to retain good people, right? Now, not everyone that we've
How?
hired has been how
Yeah,
we
that's the
pay
big
them.
question.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay. So that's a good question. How are we retaining our good people? Um, I feel like we pay them pretty well. We've set up good benefits for them, and most of our
Okay.
staff are like graduated high school. They're either in college or they've chosen not to go to college, but they're of like 19 to 25 is the majority of my staff. Um, so we pay them really well. We're giving them benefits, meaning we pay for their health insurance, we pay for their dental, we pay for their vision. We set up 401k plans for them that we contribute to.
Wow.
And more importantly, like we treat them with respect. Like there's very rarely do I have to put on my like boss hat and like get on anyone, to be honest with you. Like that hardly ever happens. And I'm personally very uncomfortable in that situation. I'm much more comfortable in a like in a friendly type way, meaning like we're all friends here and we're all in this together. And hey, can you guys help me with this? You know what I mean? As
Mhm.
opposed to go do your job, this and that, barking orders. I don't think people respond well to that. That's never really the environment that we've had. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we just treat people with respect. We pay them more than similar positions would. We have
Okay.
nice perks like you get, you walk in, you want a Gatorade, grab it. You want chips, grab it. You get a free meal every day. That's pretty cool. Stuff like that, dude. And I understand that a lot of companies like may not have the luxury of providing healthcare or complimentary snacks and energy drinks to their staff members, and I get that, but we're fortunate enough to where we were able to treat our staff like that. That's not to say that every single person that we've hired has been, you know, a
I,
rock
I do
star.
I do want to talk about legal pitfalls and things that you can give my listeners some lessons, either hard fought, legal related, whether employment based, or other situations that have you had to yeah. And it's going to dovetail with a couple of things I want to bring up, because I've worked with you in the nonprofits and you donating time to the community with previously the Back Nine Foundation. And I want to hear more about your current nonprofit support that you do with underserved children and groups at the islands. So I'm kind of pivoting right now. Um,
Sure,
you take good care of your employees. Share with us a lot of my listeners, I hope, are entrepreneurs and starting a business. So I want to get some lessons learned from you who has been through the process.
sure. Lessons learned regarding staff or
Yeah,
from on the legal
hiring,
aspect.
both, and is there
Sure.
overlap, and should they bring in lawyers earlier or later? Have you had to
I would
use lawyers?
you certainly have been extremely helpful um, as a resource at the very least, so that I can like have a number to call to bounce something off of, or at the very least. As far as getting started, I mean, we couldn't have acquired the range without the help of legal representations, which you did. I couldn't have started my nonprofit without your guidance. You know, now maybe some people do have that depth of knowledge and can just streamline it themselves, but for me, like a lot easier sometimes to ask somebody that actually knows what they're doing instead of me trying to figure out what I'm doing. You know. Now, with respect to like staff, it's not something in California. It's not something that you want to be like messing around with. Is with respect to um, hiring, firing, leave people going on leave. You know, California is very employee and worker friendly, which I take no issue with. I am much more of a historical laborer like throughout my life than I am a business like owner or a manager. So like I take no issue
Okay.
with that. But yeah, I think that if you're just getting started with like interviewing and hiring people, like familiarize yourself with the do's and the don'ts. I would definitely put yourself through some like sexual harassment training videos, just so that you can like see another perspective of like, oh, okay, like here's are the do's and the don'ts of the current landscape. Like, don't ever do this, don't ever do that, just to get you
Do
thinking
you
that way, right?
do you have any resources off the top of your head or referrals? Because I know I don't really do employment litigation types of issues. Is there a resource that you use regularly or can refer to people who might be interested in using that type of consulting?
Part of training resources, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any off the top of your head?
Yeah, whatever payroll company you set yourself up with, let's just say Paychecks, um,
Okay.
they're going to have an HR package for you that is going to give you access to a lot of that stuff.
Okay. And
Be
so,
it termination training. Like your payroll company is going to have a human resources arm to it that then will contain a massive library of documents, training videos, stuff like that, that
okay.
you will not only have access to, but then you can also like put your staff through, right, to make sure that
Okay.
everyone's on the same page of what's expected of them. You know,
Fantastic.
yeah,
So, you've done, well, we met working and developing a nonprofit many, many years ago, and I really enjoyed that experience. And that's where you were able to help people through the use of golf by providing free golf services at various golf driving ranges and even golf courses. And so I know that you've had a long tradition of serving your community. Can you tell me about what volunteer organization you're working with currently, what they do, and if people want to participate or support that?
sure. So I think the first tee of Orange County is probably like where I'm focusing a little bit more of my time, which is so that's a nonprofit that focuses on youth development through golf. So they help incorporate different life skills and character skills while teaching golf to kids for basically free. I mean, if basically anybody that wants to get their kid into it, if you need financial assistance, they'll give it to you, and I'm pretty sure they'll just scholarship you upon request. And if you're going to pay for it, it's like $10 a class, maybe 15, something like that, which is like that's super cheap. I mean, it's cheaper than babysitting. Um,
Sure.
so that's a group that I've been involved with for a long time. That's how I got my start at Islands. Actually, I started as a volunteer over there, and then I got a job with them there. Um, they ended up leaving the Islands, and then I ended up coming back on my own and started my own kids program. Uh, and then that was right before I took over the entire facility. Um, Once I did that, then I brought the first tee back to the Islands. That's actually where they started the Orange County chapter. So it's
Okay.
pretty cool to bring them back. Even that was probably 3 years ago. So they still have classes with us probably 3-4 days a week. I help with some of their fundraising activities. I contribute some of my time and efforts to like funding their program in different ways. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, they're pretty rad. Trying to think anything else.
Is there
Yeah,
do you want to give a plug for them on how people can find them? I don't know how you spell, or do they have a website, or give a plug
yeah,
for them?
yeah. It's the first, like spelled out FIRST, T as in TEE, of Orange County. So that's the local chapter here, but they are a national organization. They always need volunteers. It's super fun that like all of their classes are very game based. So it's all like different activities or team games and competitions, who can get it in the hoop when chipping or putting, stuff like that. They always need volunteers at the very least. So if you're bored and you want to do something fun with your time and make some little kids have a good time, then that's a good option. And I
Awesome.
wish, like, once this is done, Eric, and I'm like not working so hard, I'm going back to volunteering to teach kids how to golf. Like, for
Very
sure, dude.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
I
unfortunately, I'm
really like
at it right now.
I I get a lot more back when I'm serving and giving back to the community. I always feel like it's so rewarding, and I really commend you. And I've known you as a volunteer and a service provider for these kids at no cost for years. I mean, that's how we met. So I appreciate you, and I hope that people listening to this get to know the Islands Golf Center and understand that you have a commitment to service, and if they are able to support your facility and venue, that they will be supporting a real community supported group, and you're giving back. So that's my plug for you. I really appreciate all you've done for the community. Um, because the Islands is in such a unique location, a unique venue, what kind of things do you see about the? We went through COVID, and because of that, you saw some really unique challenges because people couldn't get together, but you guys were outside. Can you tell us how that impacted your business and maybe where your business is now, and how because of that would you change anything going into the future?
Yeah. So we actually took the place over, I think, 5 weeks before COVID, and we took it over with like nothing. And I mean, like, I maybe had like $50,000, which was a loan, right, upon day one. And then 5 weeks later, we're closed for this thing called like coronavirus that nobody knows anything about. All I know is I just took this place over. I have like this much money that isn't even mine, and
Yeah.
now my business is closed, right? Which and we ended up right, dude. But it ended up being a blessing. So we retained our staff, which was probably foolish, considering nobody knew how long this was going to last, right?
Yeah, for
But
sure.
anyway, I just like I didn't want to fire these people because that would make me like a butthead, right? So we're gonna keep them, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So now you also have to keep in mind this place was a wreck, like a total wreck. So
Yeah.
we were closed. We're like, great, now we can like get to work, and I have 4 or 5 people here to help me. So we got as much stuff as we could done during that COVID lockdown. It's also an incredible place to be like isolated, right? Because we had our own 20-acre property and plenty of work to do. Everybody else was like holed up in their apartment, like dying to go outside and do something. And we were just loving life. Sadly, while
Wow.
like digging, thousands of plants with a shovel, you know, doing grunt work. But like when we were able to reopen, and golf was one of the first places that were able to reopen, we had made a significant dent in the ugliness of the property so that once
Okay.
people buy, it was like, oh, this place is not bad, like it's actually pretty decent. Um, had we not been given that like closed down window to get so much stuff done, it would have taken us probably 6 months to a year. Um, so we had a good product for them once we were able to reopen, and then we just got exposed to so many different people that were not golfers. There was literally nothing else to do. I'm pretty open about that.
Uh-huh.
But we for the next probably
Yeah.
3 years, we did not stop fixing the place, making it better. And a lot of the stuff that we did was not customer facing. It was like operational, structural stuff that had to happen in order for us to build a kitchen or open a golf shop. It's like we need to get the driving range to where it can handle this level of traffic, because like that place was not built to have this much traffic. Meaning like
Okay.
what people, yeah. You want me to keep going on that?
I do, but in particular, were there any software systems? How did you really handle the scaling? You're talking about the number of people, and I know 90. I think I've been there with 80 mats, and you're up at 92 mats. Logistically, with the parking lot, food service, golf shop, and ball dispensers, and collecting balls off of a lake, what kind of systems did you have? Was there legacy software? Do you use software? How did you handle that?
Well, when I say like operational stuff, I'm talking about the golf balls, right? So
Okay.
like they're all going into this lake and they're all going into all these bushes everywhere. And the lake is not like a man-made lake. It's actually an old gravel pit. So there's like chunks of freeway and rebar and small caves. It's basically a golf ball eating monster. It's a 15 acre. Like you could not think of a worse place to put a driving range from like an operational standpoint, right? It's
When
beautiful.
did you
They did a
figure
great.
that out? When did?
It's a bunch of rubble, and then the water level goes up and down. So
Okay.
like when we got to it,
Okay.
the thing would just be golf balls, right? So we ended up having to like, I think we spent, it was close to $250,000 project that we installed 50,000 square feet of heavy duty plastic netting underwater with scuba divers. And it took us
Wow.
over a month. Yeah. So that
Wow. I
we could
didn't know about
complete,
this.
yeah. So that it was incredibly gnarly project, dude. Like, because we were doing it, they were diving, we were like laboring all of this material around and like hoisting up 50-foot netting panels and drawing it out underwater. It was really
Wow.
something, but
Wow.
we basically blanketed half of the basin underwater so that those golf balls couldn't float into all those nooks and crannies, so that we could actually like retain the balls to basically so that we could keep up with the traffic that was coming at us. Back in the day, there was like nobody going there, so like it just wasn't that big of a deal. Once people started coming out, then it's like we can't retrieve these balls out of the rocks fast enough. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
we had to fix that part of it and get the golf ball situation under control, which included like building additional boats, making sure we had enough motors to swap in and out because the motors are always crapping out on us.
Wow.
And get that chaos under control so that we can talk about opening a kitchen, right?
Okay.
Because if the driving range itself is a mess, like we can't have a kitchen, and we
Right.
definitely can't have a shop, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been quite a process. So where we're at kind of now is like we had a big push over winter. There was a good list of customer facing improvements that we made. We
Okay.
added more shade, we added more parking, we put like a safety divider between every single stall. We put all new mats
Okay.
out. Um, we built an entire 1,000 feet of fence as like a safety barrier between the hitter and the lake itself. We rebuilt targets. Like we had a huge push this winter while it was
Okay.
slow to like get all of this done. And then now we're
Awesome.
like, I'm I don't want to I don't
Don't
want to
change
build or fix.
anything.
Like yeah, I'm gonna take a breather.
Okay. Awesome. I didn't know about, I mean, I knew a little bit about the logistics of turning over the balls, capturing, cleaning, getting them back on land into the machines to get dispensed, and then starting a cycle over again. But I had no idea of the infrastructure due
Yeah,
to the shape of the lake and
and
what's under there.
it's still a mess. Like I was literally crawling around in the bushes covered in ants this morning. I'm not like exaggerating,
Okay.
and I'll be back in there tomorrow because it's just like once they start dropping that water level, golf balls get stranded, and it's just part of
Okay.
it. And if we don't, I
Okay.
don't have the option to not pick them up, and a
Right.
lot of times it's stuff that like I can't have staff do because it doesn't really check like the safety box for me.
Oh, time out. You can't say that.
No, that's what I'm saying is I
Yeah.
don't ask other staff members to do it. I do it myself because some of it I don't feel is safe enough for a staff member to do. So I'll just do it myself. Is that still
Wow.
time out?
I don't know. Talk to your insurance broker. Something on the inside of me is screaming no, but I don't really know.
My legal advisor. So
You're responsible for yourself, and I don't know who you're going to be able to sue except for yourself since you're the boss. So it's
mostly just
probably
mud and
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway,
So that's fantastic. I mean, you've done nothing but work for years and taken advantage of slow times to invest in the infrastructure and operations. We and I know now that you've really just you've got the place hitting on all cylinders.
yeah.
Do you use software? How do you maintain scheduling and things like that? Did you have to invest in software or any other type of infrastructure?
Yeah. Well, we have a few different softwares that we run primarily for point of sale. Um,
Okay.
aside like QuickBooks, obviously on the back end, Paychex runs. We ended up signing up with Paychex PEO, which is like their group purchasing arm. So Paychex handles payroll, HR, all of our health benefits, 401k, workers comp. So like big chunk of that back end stuff all goes under them,
Okay.
which I'm sorry, I'm not recommending them to anyone. I'm just answering your question. I am not an advocate for them. You know, they're of my least favorite vendors, but that is where most of our stuff goes through. Uh,
Okay.
where is we have three different points of sales. Our golf balls run through one software, so like the ball machines themselves, you can just go tap to pay, much like a vending machine, which is
Okay.
pretty cool. The kitchen has its own software. They run Clover, which has been honestly like Clover's been very solid over there.
Okay.
And then the golf shop runs Four Up, which does not only the golf shop retail aspect, but then also like the driving range golf ball sales. And Four
Wow.
Up is not bad.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for our software. As far as like scheduling, I still make a paper schedule. Um, Probably not
Okay.
the most efficient, but like I don't I like physically writing, so I don't know.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Just I don't know, most people don't have three entirely separate run kind of businesses in one location. So those that poses unique challenges.
yeah, it does, and unfortunately, they're all tied together. You know what I mean? Like if somebody calls out of the kitchen, then I need to take somebody out of the golf shop and put them in there, which then stresses out that department and the kitchen department. If something goes wrong on the dock, then I need to pull somebody out of the golf shop and send them to the boat to deal with balls. It's just,
Okay.
it's all, yeah, it's all unfortunately connected, man. And honestly, if I don't have enough golf balls floating around, then I need to, that's going to mess up everyone's day, because then I need to pull people from the golf shop and send them down to the boat to work. Basically, we need to be working double time because half of my golf balls are stuck on the side of the lake on the ground, right?
Wow.
Uh, Meanwhile, customers, like, they don't care. They're coming for us by the thousands, regardless. So
Wow.
it's just kind of work, but it's good problems to have,
Yeah.
and but staff can take a beating over there. That's for sure. You know.
Okay. So, kind words for the staff. You take care of them financially. You try to take care of them emotionally. You try to feed them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It,
it's being that and that's part of the reason we wanted to make it so, like, staff friendly over there, is because we learned very quickly, like immediately, that this is a very labor intensive property. And
okay.
if we, and it's also, it takes a while to train people. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Especially, you're training them to do something that no one does anywhere else. It's not like you have prior experience retrieving golf balls with a boat. That's not a job,
They
right?
don't have a
So, like,
major.
have turnover here. Like, if we get good people, we need to lock them in, especially because the
Okay.
plan was, okay, we have this one business, but we also want to grow it. We want to have three businesses here. That was always the plan. And I can't do that if I'm constantly having turnover and stuff like that, So we're
Very.
very fortunate with staff. Um, we've got up to almost 30 staff members now, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Uh, yeah. And I've been, my personal workload has gotten a lot better. Definitely spend a little more time at the house with the family,
Nice.
even find
Nice.
vacation every once in a while. So yeah, I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel these days.
That's great. That is so fantastic. I thank you for the update. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished and what you're continuing to do and giving back. Do you have any words of encouragement for people who might be thinking about uh, getting a side hustle or becoming an entrepreneur? Do you have any advice?
Um, that's a that's a pretty loaded question. Like, that is such a massive question that could go in, like, every direction possible. Um, I go from being, like, optimistic on small businesses to being, like, super pessimistic. Depending on what the business is, like, because a lot, like, uh, you want me to be optimistic or pessimistic, Eric? Which one are we rooting for?
if
I think you
if
need
you
to be
had
both, right? You need to be a skeptic. Okay, so, like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was a child, very, very young. I've had some successes and I've had some failures, for sure. Um, but, like, now, when I start looking, because I'm still an entrepreneur and I still want to get involved in new things or different things, right? But when
okay,
I look at them now, like, I don't have the same, like, green perspective of, like, oh, this is a fantastic idea. Look at all the money I can make. I look at it more like, from a practical standpoint, how much
okay,
work is it going to be? Do I have the time and energy to give that? Is that work, like, what are the downsides of that? What are the risks associated with it? Will it be a worthwhile adventure? You know, so I look at it from a much more skeptical standpoint these
sure.
days, which I would encourage that. for people, because it's so easy for us to get caught up in the upside, right? Especially if it's
Okay.
like our idea that we're passionate
Okay.
about. I've made that mistake several times and I couldn't see the counter argument, to
Okay.
my theories.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, while I am pessimistic about a lot of small businesses, and just basically based on like how difficult it is.
Okay.
Example, like if you want to open up a small restaurant in a random strip mall, like that's going to be a grind because labor's through the roof, food costs is through the roof, your rent's going to be through the roof. Like you're going to have to end up working your tail off to maybe survive. Like
Okay.
that's it's difficult conditions. With that being said, I look at all my staff members that are getting paid, let's say 22, 24 bucks an hour, right? With benefits. That's pretty good. However, I don't know how you pay your own rent on that. Like I'm looking at the cost of living these days and I'm wanting to like shake my staff members and be like, you guys need to start a business. Like, I don't know what, but like, there the I don't know any other way to do it right now. It's so expensive to live. Wages are never going to get high enough to do that. Like you guys at some point are gonna have to take some risk and like get going out there. And honestly,
Okay.
one of my bosses told me the same thing as well. He said, Ben, you need to be more entrepreneurial. And this was back when I was washing golf carts at a country club like 8 years ago.
Okay. So that's our advice, which is, hey, everybody, the world right now is a challenge. Working for somebody is a grind. Starting a new project is going to be difficult. There's likelihoods of success and failure you don't know because you're going to be possibly blinded by your own biases.
Yep.
Uh, but what I'm hearing from you is you're not going to survive if you don't take a risk these days. You're going to have to.
So you can survive, but like I don't know, man. The economy is very difficult right now, and I'm not the only person saying that. Like
Yeah,
there's a whole generation of people right now that have forgotten about buy a home or have children. Like let's just be honest with that. They
sure.
just can't. They can't see that for themselves. You know what I mean? And that's just the facts. So the only way out
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
is you have to take some risk and figure something else out. Um, yeah, that's the only way I can see it. Now, my advice is when doing that, don't get blinded in the oh look at how great of an idea this is. I'm going to make so much money. You need to look at it from like a very practical standpoint of like what are the downsides, and if somebody
Yeah.
tries to like tell you the counter argument to your theory, listen to them. They're not being a
Okay.
dick. They're not being mean. They're trying to like give you the alternative perspective, and then that's the important one.
Oh man, we should have led with that. No, this is fantastic. This is the advice that people that are entrepreneurs need to hear. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad we had the opportunity to really hear it from you, who went through that with ideas of grandeur, opened the
Totally.
business, which you knew was not going to be easy, but then to land 5 weeks into a new business with pandemic shutting everything down, and then knowing it was going to be a fixer upper and just going through
Yeah.
all of those struggles. And now, objectively, as a financial success and running a community facility that's giving back is just a testament to hard work and dedication. So I want, can you give people a way to reach out to you or the islands, and how they can get in touch and give a plug for
Sure.
your center?
Sure. My email, if anybody wants to reach out, is ben@theislandsgolfcenter.com.
Great.
You're also welcome to
And
check out the website.
you guys are open 7 days a week?
Correct. Yep. Yep.
And what are the hours that you're
Monday-
open?
Sure. Monday's like our maintenance day, so that's when we get to kind of get caught up and do repairs. So that Mondays we don't open until 3 p.m. Every other day we
Okay.
open at 7 a.m. and then we sell buckets until 9:30 at night.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
We have long days there.
great. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your business experience. And I hope that our listeners will get something out of this.
Thanks, Eric.
Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes, where we'll cover topics ranging from business formation and fundraising to contracts and compliance. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of Business Problem Solvers. Business Problem Solvers podcast is proudly brought to you by Eric B. Alspaugh, APC, providing comprehensive legal solutions for startups and entrepreneurs. Visit our website at www.alspaughlaw.com to learn more. Disclaimer: the information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. Consult with a qualified attorney or legal advisor to address your specific legal needs.